Hi, friends. Welcome back to another review. Today, I will be talking about a pretty solid shooter if you're into hardcore ones, which is Hunt Showdown. Um, Me and my friends recently had picked this up probably about a few months back. Hunt Showdown. I've taken a look into it quite a long time since it originally came out. The premise is I hate to use the word for it because it doesn't quite feel like it, but it is in a sense a battle royale with a couple extra steps into it. But it is set in a real dark, kind of gritty setting, set in the South, um, kind of with this weird, uh, almost eldritch kind of flavor to it. Um, it is a game that takes a bit to the hardcore, so keep that in mind if you're someone who isn't into these like super tough games. This is one where you can just get popped from afar um and just die instantly without even like seeing the enemy that did it. I will tell you now, it is made and published by Crytek. It was released back in August 27th of 2019. If Crytek sounds familiar, they're the people that made Crisis, the game that exploded everyone's PCs back in the day. A game that I think still, even the original version, probably holds up pretty well graphically. Um, it is super interesting to see them going from such a high, like sci-fi kind of action shooter to being this real, brought down to earth, like horror shooter. Um, Pretty much the concept is you and a team of two, or a team of two or three. It can be anywhere in between kind of thing. You can be solo playing this, two people or three people. Um, there's a couple game types they have in the game. The main one you're going to be playing is called Hunt, or where you go out, and the main premise of this game is to hunt a huge monster that is set throughout one of these maps. There's I think about three or four maps at this point. The job of the other teams that are set into the match are also to hunt this monster. So you're fighting against each other to try to hunt it, and you can there's many times where you'll hunt the monster and you'll get out without facing a single person. I've had a few matches where I've probably every team in the map go up to one monster. That is nuts, by the way. An absolute chaos moment. Honestly, some of the best gaming I've experienced was that kind of stuff. It was so fun. Even if I died at the end or something, I was still enjoying every moment of it. Um, the game is set primarily back in like I think the 1800s. So you don't have any super crazy guns in this game or anything. You'll have revolvers, you'll have the old school like somewhat semi-auto pistols or anything like that. You have rifles, shotguns, things like that. Where it's where the realism really sets in is how these guns interact. These are some of the most well-designed firearms I think I've seen in gaming. Um, that's why a lot of times if you look it up, you'll see even like real life gun historians checking out these guns. And they do say a lot of the time it does work, sometimes it doesn't. But for a game like this, it they do it wonderfully. The characters, seeing as how this is kind of that more battle royale style of things, it doesn't the characters aren't as important to anything. They're more of a stylization choice. Depending on how you look at them. You can play through it. If you die, you won't lose that character up to level 11. Once you get to level 11, that's when you can actually lose all your guns and all uh that you utilize in the match, or your hunter that you use in the match. At first this sounds really scary. It sounds like you lose a lot of progress when you play if you lose. It's not hard to lose. But in reality, you can buy back anyone you play. Like you can buy back hunters that you play, and the weapons that you utilize. It doesn't really cost you any of the in-game currency that much. Um, Not enough to really see it. I've never had issues with the in-game currency ever. So just keep that in mind. It's not as scary as it sounds. It can be a little frustrating, but it's not like I wouldn't stop playing the game just because of it at this point. They do have special hunters. These are kind of their really high end DLC characters. They can be purchased, earned through certain events and everything like that. They pretty much have a lot of character compared to the regular guys. They're really fun. If you're someone who doesn't mind spending like $5 to $10 on a game, pick up one that you really like or something like that. You could keep replaying them even if they die. You just buy them back again, just like the other hunters. So they are the very fun part is seeing these really cool looking hunters and going into the game, or seeing them fight you, and it's cool to see them like that. Uh, you have a bunch of utility and defensive items to utilize other than your weapons. You have like health kits, melee weapons that you can carry onto the field. You got things like bombs, fire bombs. You got poison bombs. You got a newly introduced soccer beetle, which almost acts as like a telescope for you to use in game to look for players or to see what's ahead of you in a way, and they blow up to do a little bit of poison damage to an enemy. Um, Poison, the firearms and everything have a few effects on people, including alternate ammo for guns that you will unlock by using the gun. That is, by the way, one of the best things this game does. Is pretty much everything that you unlock through the game is unlocked via challenges that you have to do. Most of them are just using the certain gun type that is associated with it, which is fine. I think wonderful. If I really want something, I'll have to earn it. And I think that's really cool through the fact that you can just play the game. You don't have to buy it. I don't even think you can buy unlocks like that, other than the recently introduced kind of battle pass they have for the game. I don't mind battle passes in video games. Sometimes they really kind of make or break a game for things like other games that can really break them down because some people don't think it's worth it. I think some games that introduce them have them in a worthwhile style. So this is one that I think is pretty interesting for the battle pass. I think it doesn't really break anything. Uh, I do recommend this game heavily to people that really want a tough experience. Um, and the other reason I talk about tough experience is the enemy types you'll find throughout the game. I did talk about the monsters. There's about 4 big monsters, I believe. You have the butcher, this big kind of uh, pig looking man. He's really tough. Do keep in mind he is weak to slicing and shrapnel. Grenades really kill him pretty quick. Sticky grenades are wonderful to use against him. Axes are pretty solid as well. Anything like that, you'll have Spider, weak to fire. If you're afraid of spiders, by the way, he's creepy looking, so keep that in mind. Just throw fire bombs at him. If you take incendiary ammo, use that against him and everything like that as well. Scrap Beak, which is your big old kind of almost bird-like man that hoards things to himself, kind of like a nest, but his nest being barbed wire. He's by far one of the worst ones to come across. He's the most newly introduced one, I believe, to the game as well. But he's weak to poison, so keep that in mind. If you have any poison stuff, he's really weak to that. Plus, if you use explosives against him, he does get hurt by it, but it breaks the stuff he holds, which can kind of detriment if you're trying to place traps after you're trying to banish these guys, which takes a bit of time when you're trying to banish them. Um, and then there's the assassin who's quick, can disappear. He's like made of bugs or something like that. He's also has a weakness to fire, I believe, mainly. Um, Keep that. So bring mainly fire. Fire is like the big thing to bring with you when you go into a match, if you can get to it. There's a bunch of little units or little enemies that you'll come across the game. You have your like basic zombies. They're pretty easy to take out. They're just there to be fodder mainly. Um, Now be careful with them though, because if they do get you, kind of bum rush you, they can take you down pretty quick. I have had it happen once or twice. You'll have hives, which are these kind of creepy looking beehive women that kind of are broken in half and a beehive's taking its spot. They're by far one of the worst because poison obscures your vision a lot other than letting you not heal. So keep that in mind when facing the hives. You'll want to shoot them in the little head. It hangs down, so keep in mind it's not going to be where a head normally is. Just take that out as fast as you can. That way the bugs can't really affect you. You'll have your brutes, which are these big armor looking guys. They're not as scary as they seem. You can actually punch them and they'll get stunned pretty well. Now there is a razor brute who's covered in barbed wire, meaning if you do punch him, you'll bleed, which is damage that has to be taken care of, or else it will just continuously drop you lower and lower. So you can do that without like any medkits or anything. You can stop bleeding or burning without any medkits. Burning is probably the worst thing you'll come across, which will take down your health. If it takes out a bar, it permanently takes that bar out. You cannot recover that health during the match. You can spend points after the match to get that health bar back if your hunter does survive. You do have immolators. Those are the guys that help put you on fire. They cannot be hit with anything except blunt damage. So they cannot be shot, or they can be shot. They can be killed technically, but they'll explode and light you on fire. If you don't want to worry about that explosion thing, there's two ways to take care of them. You hit them with a blunt weapon, or an interesting, I forget, there's things called not smoke grenades, but they have a different name. Pretty much their purpose is to put fire out, or mess with another hunter. I didn't know it for a while, but you can throw them at immolators and it will kill them instantly because it puts the fire out on them. There's things called, what are they called? Kind of like these like fat boy kind of guys, these really huge looking guys. They look like big brutes almost. They're very scary because they're blind mainly. They take up a lot of damage to kill if you want to even kill it. Their whole thing is that they cannot see you unless you're poisoned. They can smell the poison when you're poisoned, and that's when they'll start charging for you. You can always see them because you'll see leeches kind of going by, and if these leeches get onto you, they will also poison you, causing it to come after you. So be wary of them. They're probably the worst of the little enemies that you'll find that aren't the big monsters. I honestly would want to fight them less than some of the big monsters, to be completely honest. I'm trying to think. There's hellhounds, dogs that cause bleeding when they attack you. They can be pretty annoying, so keep that in mind. They might jump from a distance, so if you're gonna aim, you might aim a little too high and pop right above where they're jumping, and causes a miss, and they'll still hit you. I would rather stay clear of them than actively go towards them or anything. There are also hazards throughout the game, bear traps. There's noise hazards such as birds. You'll always come across birds, ducks. An enemy that isn't very much seen as often are water devils. Or water, yeah. It's either water devils or water demons. I think they're water devils. They're pretty much these like kind of monstrous little leeches that hide in the waters. If you do go through them and you can start hearing them come towards you, do not let them get at you. They will mess you up. You can kill them if you shoot them, but that causes some noise unless you have a silencer on your handgun or a rifle. Then there's other hazards such as dogs in cages. If they start barking, that tells other hunters you're there. Now, I will tell you, if there isn't any hunters, you don't have to worry about any of these kind of hazards because there's no one to hear them. I have had some cases because I play late at night that we have loaded into matches with no other hunters. At least I think, or they died really early. I have gone through an entire match without experiencing another human person and just having to kill monster, leave, and then win the game, which is cool in that aspect. As I said at the beginning, this is a pretty tough game. Keep that in mind. It is something to master over time. It is hard to master, but once you have mastered it, it can be so exciting to win matches or mainly beat other hunters. That's where the bread and butter of this game is. It's fighting other people. because they're way harder, way more tactful than monsters in the game. The monsters are just objectives, I think, mainly to help spice it up. But the other hunters are crazy to fight against. Keep in mind, some of these people have been probably playing since launch, so there are some really good players out there. Keep in mind when playing it that you may get beaten quite a lot, but just keep at it. It's one of those perseverance kind of games, but it does feel so satisfying when you get pretty good at a game like this. It is a little bit of a more expensive game. It's not something that's inherently $40 for a game this impressive looking, by the way. I forgot to mention, since it is the Crytek people, this game does look incredible. Um, $40 is not bad. I've gotten at this point 42 hours in. That's not a lot for a game like this. I would say that is pretty rookie numbers on my part. Otherwise, though, you'll probably get way more than that if you really enjoy it. Now, granted, you could spend a lot of money on this game if I remember correctly. Yep, $289 is for all the DLC to the game. So actually $320 if you wanted the game and everything along with it. Currently it is on sale though, $126 for the whole thing. Now I don't think that's actually true because I have a couple of the DLCs and stuff, so that's probably incorporating the DLCs. So it is probably about $170 for the whole thing. Just get the base game. Maybe pick up one special hunter if you really want something like that. I think the I think you do get a special hunter out of the battle pass, so if you'd rather do that, there's some really cool ones in this battle pass, so keep that in mind. But I do heavily recommend it. I would give this game 8 out of 10. It has scared me a couple times, so it does fit its kind of more horror aspect of the game. I will tell you this, it is considered by them high stakes tactical pvpve first person shooter is what it is considered for them. That is a more unique way of describing a game, so I just wanted to put that one out there. But that'll be it for now. As always, I like to ask you to like and comment. If you have played the game, what is your favorite weapon for this game? Who do you like to face in form of the big monsters, the ones you're trying to hunt? Um, who's your least favorite is also a good question, because for me, it's always going to either be, I want to say either Scrapbeak or the Assassin. I don't mind fighting Spider or Butcher very often. Um, Also, if you haven't played it, have I kind of pushed you to play it? It is a pretty good little shooter if you're really into those hardcore, really cool horror games like this. This is really going to be up your alley if that's something you like. I also really understand with this one if it's not the kind of game you'll enjoy, because you're like, I really don't like those tough shooters like that. I don't blame you at all. This game has its difficulty curve, so keep that in mind. But as always, as well, I like to ask you to subscribe if you do. I think you're wonderful. If you don't, I still think you're wonderful. So it's completely up to you. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.